So we had seniors and we had middle schoolers and everything in between as a part of that leader crew that was putting on VBS this year. Every age you can imagine was involved in loving our kids and loving your kids, investing in this next generation. And I just wanted to say, that's us. I love that. That represents our church so well. We're just a multi-generational church. We love all the ages, we love all the generations, and we love it when we can do it together. Amen? So well done, everybody. That was fantastic. Some of you know this, but we had almost like a 1-to-1 ratio of students, kids here, and those who were here to volunteer to make it happen, and that was just amazing. And in case you didn't hear yet, 52 of your kids, of our kids who were here, made a first-time decision to ask Jesus to come into their heart and to shine his light on the inside. And we celebrate that. We certainly want you to know, parents, God is up to something. God is doing a work in your kids, and he's doing a work in our community, and we're so grateful to be a part of it. And I want to say this, though, as a leader in this church, thank you for trusting us with your kids for the week. It's no small thing to entrust people to care for your kids. We know that. My wife and I, when our kids were younger, now they're old, so it's like, go where you want. They do what they do. But when we were ever gone and we were entrusting people with our kids, we always knew it was a big deal. And for some of you who know us well, it was easy. But for those of you who were like first time just getting to know the church, maybe here referred by a neighbor or a friend, thank you for trusting us with your kids. We hope they had an incredible time. But that's the kind of church and the kind of place that we've always wanted to be. It's been in our heart since the founding of our church that we would be a place that invests in the lives of families and kids and every generation. And so thank you for that. By the way, it's a launching pad. For some of these kids, some of your kids, 52 of them, it was the beginning of the rest of their lives. These are decisions that we make when we're kids, but it's really the rest of our lives that we then now are inaugurated into this reality of what does it mean to follow Jesus. And that, if you need help in that area at all as a parent in this room, some of you did not grow up in a household that kind of modeled that. We didn't read the Bible together or pray together, or some of these things were a little bit not easy for us, but we know it's good and we know we want to do that. Just so you know, a lot of us, I had some great examples in my life, but their parents, first generation getting saved, and they didn't have examples, and it starts somewhere. And so if that's a new thing for you, our greatest goal and hope is to partner with you in that journey. You will always be the greatest influence in their life. Parents and grandparents in the room, you will always be the number one influencer in their lives. And so if we can, as a community, partner with you and come alongside you and equip you and encourage you in doing that and raising kids that love Jesus and shine his light outside of the church when they're back at home, right? And they're playing with friends in the street, and when they're out having fun, we want to partner with you in that. And so if you're in for that or you need help with that, would like help with that, that's why we're here. So just putting all that out there. We had a theme this week. Was Let Jesus Light Shine. That was our theme, and we had a theme verse. And I want to start with that verse and just share a couple words from there before we are released to lunch together and enjoy some more time. Matthew chapter 5. If you have your Bibles, you can turn there with me. If not, we'll have it on the screen behind you. Matthew chapter 5, verse 14 says this: "You are the light of the world." All right, everybody in here, all the kids especially, say it with me on the count of 3, those same words. You are the light of the world. One more time. You are the light of the world. It says, "A city on a hill cannot be hidden, nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a stand. And it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven. Let me just start with this. Jesus is speaking to his disciples on a hillside in Galilee. Long before there was a church, long before Christianity was around the world and there were followers of Jesus all over the place, he's looking at a small group of people, maybe some hundreds of people, maybe less, but there was a multitude there. And he looks them in the eyes and he tells them, you are the light of the world. Now, for a moment, if you can imagine how crazy that would sound, you're in the middle of Galilee area, kind of up country, so to speak. You're on a hillside in kind of the middle of nowhere, a place where a crowd could gather. And this very famous rabbi turns to you and says, you are the light of the whole world. Anybody think that's a little far-fetched? Hey, the whole world? How am I the light of the whole world? But what we know now is what began there has reached Rancho Santa Margarita. I was in Fiji, Tonga, and Solomon Islands a few years back, and they said, do you know the opposite end, the farthest part of the world from Jerusalem is the place you're standing right now? And to realize there are people following Jesus in the farthest parts of the world from that little town in Galilee. Literally, the world would find out about Jesus. But he said about himself that I am the light of the world first. And we read this in the Gospel of John. So Jesus said, I'm the light of the world. And then he turns and he tells his disciples, you are the light of the world. So what does he mean by being the light of the world? Does it mean that we can turn the light on and off in the world, kind of like the sun is? Does it mean that? Like we just go, everybody, lights off, and the lights will go off in the world? What does he mean by that? Well, think about this. It's not that you and I, in ourselves, we were born with lights, and we're just going to let our lights shine, and we are the light by ourselves. It's more like what the sun is to the moon. How many of you know the moon doesn't have a light source of its own? The sun is the closest star to planet Earth, and it gives off light, bright light, allowing life to happen on planet Earth. But that light hits the moon and reflects to the earth at nighttime, and we see it, and it looks like the moon has its own light source. But really, the moon is just reflecting the light of the sun, and then we get to see it. And this is what Jesus is saying to everybody who knows him. When you have received me and say, you want to follow me, you become the reflection of my light to others. When they see my light in you, that's when they'll go, oh, that's what God is like. When Jesus came into the earth and said, I'm the light of the world, what he came to do was to shine the light of who God is and to show us, illuminate the path how to have a relationship with God. That's why he claimed, that's how he claimed, I'm the light of the world. He said, those who believe in me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. So Jesus came and said, you guys want to know what the invisible God looks like? Look at me. I'm him. I'm showing you, I'm speaking like him, I'm acting, I'm displaying his love, I'm demonstrating those things that you may not understand or know about God. I'm making God known. He says, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. And so he said, I'm the light of the world. You see me, you want to know what God is like? Look at me. And by the way, anybody in the house today who actually wants to know what God is like, read the Gospels and just look at Jesus. And sometimes you'll find he's a very different picture than maybe somebody has portrayed God in the past to you, or the way you've experienced somebody who says they know him. But read Jesus. Read how he treats people, how he loves people, the grace he shows, the kindness, the compassion. Man, it's amazing. And he says, I'm the light of the world. So he showed us what God is like, but he also showed us the way to the Father. How do you have a relationship with God? And he showed us the way. In fact, he ends up declaring, I am the way. I am the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. He says, you're the light, and he came to be that. But now he says, we are the light. It's a little bit like these disco balls in the back. Before the light shines on them, they're just disco balls. But now that the spotlight hits them, go ahead and turn those bad boys on. They're just amazing. Those disco balls have I thought they could turn, and maybe they can't. They turn, and maybe, there they go. There we go. Now we're talking. When the light hits the disco ball, all of a sudden it gives off this incredible effect. It looks amazing. It's attractive. It's cool. And it brings some of you way back to your 60s and 70s. That I'm not trying to give you those memories back, all of them. But they were just there until the light shined on them. And it's the same way when we receive Jesus into our life, when we ask Jesus to come into our heart, and we say, we believe you are exactly who you said you are. You said you're the Son of God. You said you're the way to relationship with God. And that we believe. Then what begins to happen is he lives in us and he begins to shine his light through our life. And that comes out in many ways. So he says, now let your light shine. You are the light of the world. The city on a hill cannot be hidden, nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a stand, and it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others. One of the pictures he gives us is the fact that the darker it gets outside, the harder it is to hide light. And he talks about a city on a hill. It's really hard for us to get that concept out here because we're just like city after city after city, they all run together. But back in the day, you imagine city here and then city way over there with a bunch of hills in between. And now you're coming around a turn and you see a city that's maybe 10 miles away, but it's nighttime and it's lit up, and the top of the mountain the top of the hill looks like there's torches all over the place. And he says, he uses that as a picture, and he says, listen, the darker it is outside or the darker it is around, the brighter it is to shine the light of Jesus. You just can't hide it. He says, you are it. And he says, so because you're it, and because darkness needs light, needs to see, people need to know who I am and how to have a relationship with me, shine light and don't hide it. He said, nobody lights a lamp and sticks it under a basket. That's pointless, right? That's like us with our flashlights covering the end and trying to make our way through the darkness. No, you take your hand off so you can see what's going on. He says, no, you put a lamp on a stand and then it gives light to everybody in the house. Jesus had no image or picture of us hiding or being Christians in secret. Everything about what it is to follow Jesus is to follow him in front of people, to let people know, hey, listen, I'm in a relationship. My social media status just changed. Everybody needs to know I'm in a relationship with Jesus. Are you with me? That we're supposed to be together. Listen, when I was just getting interested in my wife in college, there was a lot of guys that wanted to date her. And so when we went out on a good date and I could see things were getting more serious, at least I wanted them to get more serious, I had to tell her, hey, listen, let's make this thing official. Let's serve notice to all those other guys out there that there's another one, she's off the market, she's with me, we're together, hey, hello? And I told her, hey, babe, it's time to fish or cut bait. That was my romantic term. Specifically because my boss wanted to date her too. And I'm like, hey, I got to go to work. We got to settle this. Who's with whom here? And he says, listen, your light is never meant to be hidden. People should know. They should just know we're together. Not because you know a certain religion that you follow and no, because you know me. You have relationship with God. He's changed your life. You're connected now. Let's live this together. And then lastly, he says, why? He says, let your light shine before others that they may see your good works and glorify your Father who is in heaven, that others may see. The world needs to see our light. Why? Because without it, we're lost. How many of you have ever been someplace in the dark trying to find your way? Without light, Jesus says, our world is dark. It's lost. And they're trying to figure out what's the meaning of life? How do I get to heaven? How do I get to God? I'm just going to use a lot of internet searches to figure out the best way to find God. I'm going to put a bunch of ideas together and declare these ideas are how I get to God. And Jesus says, and the Bible declares, hey, listen, without the light of Jesus, we're lost. You and I who know Jesus, who have received Jesus now, have this opportunity and incredible responsibility to share that so people can find their way. How do I find God? Secondly, without light, things can feel scary, and sometimes things out there feel a little scary. Things are always scarier in the dark, aren't they? They're scarier at night. Any kids in the house? Right? When the lights are off, sometimes things in the room, it feels like they are what they're not. I remember shadows. I wonder what they are. I left some shoes out. Definitely those are rats. Definitely they're coming to eat me. Whatever, something in the corner over there, you forgot you put it out. Why is the closet door open? I think something's in there. Something might be moving. You guys know how I'm talking about. Things are scarier in the dark. One time I remember as a little kid, it was the middle of the night and I woke up to the sound of and I said, did I hear something? And it woke me up and I heard again. And I'm listening. I'm like, what is going on? And all of a sudden, I felt the covers tug. It's the middle of the night. The covers are now getting pulled. Tug, tug, tug. Like, no, that's not. What's going on? And I started to panic. And then I felt them tugging more and more. And something crawled onto the top of my bed. And I was freaking out inside, but I was absolutely silent because I was paralyzed with fear. And I felt something crawling from my toes, up my leg, up to my chest. And I finally got enough courage to get out of my stuckness. And I ripped the covers off. I screamed at the top of my lungs, and then my dad came in and he flipped a light on in my room. And I realized my hamster had got out of his cage. I'm telling you, the hamster was airborne. The thing went flying through the room. Hamsters can fly, by the way. And things can be scary in our world too until our Father comes and flips the light on. And he says, I'm here, I'm with you. And because I'm with you, I'm in the room. And because I'm with you, I'm in the circumstance of your life. Because I'm with you, you don't have to be afraid of tomorrow. You don't have to be afraid of your last breath. Because I'm with you. And man, our heart is to know and to share that light, that you would know the Father in your own life, that he would be able to come into your family, into your home, into your own heart and cast out fear and let you know you are loved so well, you're cared about, that he's not angry with you, that he loves you. If you need to know the Father, listen, a lot of us needed to know, all of us needed to know the Father. And if you receive Jesus, man, the light, let it shine. Let your relationship with God shine, because we live in a world that desperately needs to see the light of God. Amen? Would you stand with me?